श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। So we're looking at verse number 15. Angam galitam palitam mundam dashana vihinam jatam tundam vruddho yati grihitva dandam tadapi na munchati ashapindam. So in the previous verse, it was focusing on criticizing people who are faking themselves as sannyasis. So the previous verse, it says, Jatilo mundi lumchita keshaha Kashayambara Bahukrita Veshaha Pashyannapi cha na pashyati mudhaha hi udara nimittam Bahukrita Veshaha. So this is just to point out that one should be serious and truthful to oneself when one takes this path. So it need not just be for the fake sannyasis. It could be for anyone. So once you take to spirituality, the idea is always be serious and truthful to myself. And not be insincere. So that is what is conveyed here with focusing on these people who have taken to the ochre, but still they are only restricted to the mundane existence, day-to-day existence. Udara nimittam bahukrita veshaha. So wearing ochre or growing long hair or tonsuring one's head or pulling off the hair one by one like the Jains do. And all these people, even though they have taken to this path because of some grace, some blessing, still fail to commit themselves and be sincere to themselves. And then verse number 15. So this is supposed to have been composed by Padmapadacharya, one of the disciples of Shankara. So he says, Angam galitam palitam mundam dashana vihinam jatam tundam. So one has become very old and very weak and fragile, feeble also. Angam galitam. So Angam here, the body, it has become worn out. Palitam, hair has turned grey. Everywhere, on the head, all over the body, hair has turned grey. Palitam mundam. Dashana vihinam jatam tundam. and the teeth have also fallen off. So the teeth become weak and they fall off. Teeth have fallen off. Vridhaha yati grihitva dandam. This person cannot even walk straight or walk on his own without holding on to a crutch. Tadapi na munchati asha pindam. But the full of desires, it doesn't go away from this person. So you have another list of desires to be fulfilled. So the whole theme of the Bhaja Govindam is to reduce one's desires and not make necessities, not make luxuries as necessities. Or in the other way, so you make necessities also luxuries. Even what you need, you carefully choose. And this is not to say one should live like live on rags. That is not necessary. But sincerely being truthful to myself, slowly give up all that I don't really need. Inquire into what I really need for a comfortable life so that I can do what I need to do and give up everything else. But this person who has become old, this person still is clinging on to desires and is desperate to fulfill desires. Tadapi na munchati asha pindam. Does not even have the intention to give up desires. Some old people we see. So they also have a list, lot of unfulfilled desires because they feel they have missed out and they have not done a lot of things, enjoyed a lot of things that they should have. So some people, they're still a bundle of desires and they're all over the place. So that is what Shankaracharya is criticizing in this verse. And we'll move to the next verse, which is attributed to Totakacharya. Agre vanhif prishte bhan ratrau cha bhuka samarpita jan karatala bhikshastarutala vasaha tadapi na munchatyasha pashaha. Agre vanhif prishte bhan ratrau chubuka samarpita jan Karatala bhikshastharutala vasaha tadapi na munchatyasha pasha. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. So this verse, the theme is slightly different. So the emphasis of this verse is that knowledge alone can solve the fundamental problem of human ignorance. Nothing else can really solve it. There are other things that I can do which will help me gain eligibility for this knowledge. But getting rid of ignorance is possible only with the help of knowledge. Because first it has to be recognized that the problem is not with the outside world. The problem is with myself. See, that I'm going through this cycle of birth and death and then continuing to suffer. so have various difficulties. The reason for that is not the world outside. Generally, we tend to blame the world outside for whatever sufferings we face or whatever difficulties we face. But Vedanta is very clear that we suffer because of our own subjective reality that we have created inside our mind. So, because of our own desires, because of our own emotional issues, because of our likes and dislikes, so that is why we really suffer. And the world outside is not the cause of our problems. And if our own subjective world is the problem, then that is created because of ignorance. So ignorance is the cause of our likes and dislikes and our repeated cycle of birth and death. And when the problem is of ignorance, then only knowledge can solve this problem. No amount of any kind of activity can solve this problem. So this needs to be very clearly understood. That is what is conveyed in this verse. See, however good the activity is, however noble the activity is, but still it cannot solve the fundamental problem. It can help me grow as a person, and it can help me gain the mental preparedness. It can help me become eligible for this knowledge. But I will still remain in samsara. So I will not be able to get rid of this samsara. So that is what is conveyed in this verse. And here he takes the example of some people who are doing some very severe penances, very austere practices. So agre vanhihi. So there is one kind of penance where you sit in front of a fire in the peak of summer and for a very long time. See, all this is only to slowly withdraw one's obsession with the body. Like there are these Aghori Babas. So you find in some places in India, in Varanasi, around that area. So what they do is unimaginable, unimaginably difficult. The kind of life they lead, that is extremely difficult. So that kind of penance, it is not really to condemn them or criticize them, but it is only to show that that alone cannot solve the problem. So agre vanhihi prishthe bhanu. So behind there is the sun. That's why I said they sit in front of a blazing fire in the peak of summer. So just imagine in India when we were very young, so in the 80s. So when we used to go in train, so train also that time AC was very limited. It was only in a couple of coaches. So most of the time we used to travel in second class. And when just imagine traveling in second class in the peak of summer through Nagpur, so which is around 45, 46 degrees centigrade. And then the train is going at 70, 80, 90 kilometer speed. So you have this hot air just blowing at you all the time. And even sitting in that compartment is difficult. Somehow you manage. See, we have traveled many times like that. And we are still alive. So we manage somehow. And the train also has a pantry car. It used to have a pantry car. So you enter the pantry car, then it will a hot blast of air will just hit your face. So because they are making something or the other. So just imagine the person in the pantry car who is cooking, who's making some dish. So it's unimaginable how they even manage to survive. Day in and day out, they used to go in those trains. And so there it is not done as a penance. So there it is done for a living. And here this person does it as a penance. So that kind of environment you force yourself to sit in. So you have a blazing fire in front of you, and then the sun is blazing away at the back, and you force yourself to sit there for hours together. And this is for getting rid of this body identification. So one is slowly, the idea is that one should ignore all the difficulties that the body faces. So the slightest pain or the slightest difficulty we have, so we get affected by this. So just imagine. So if you have faced that much, then small things will cease to bother you anymore. So agre vanhihi prishte bhanuhu ratrau chabukka samarpita janu. And whole night he doesn't lie down. So this person who is doing this austere sadhana, so this person just sits there. It's not like a whole day you sit in front of the fire and then go and enjoy in the AC at night. So the person has to just sit with his knees held to his chin. So that kind of a position. Ratrau chabuka samarpita janhu karatala bhikshas tarutala vasaha. And you just get your food on your hand. You don't even carry a vessel with you. So whatever you get, you just um, satisfy your biological needs and you keep moving on. As a parivrajaka sadhu, you're not supposed to stay in a place for more than 3 days, for more than 3 nights. The idea is that if you stay for more than 3 nights, then you develop some attachment towards that place. Whole day you do this, and then after 3 days also you keep walking. Continue. At night, you keep walking or sitting like this. So this is the kind of daily routine some people used to have. And tarutala vasaha. And if you had to sleep at all, then you just lie down under a tree. So just imagine the life of this person. You don't have a roof over your head. So you just lie down under a tree. So what to talk of pillow or bed or mattress? So nothing at all. Tarutala vasaha. Tadapi na munchati asha pasha. So he says, even if you do that, still desires won't go away. Temporarily, you may not even have the energy to think about the desire, fulfilling the desires that you may have. But they are all dormant somewhere inside. They will never go away. So such terrible sadhana, such difficult sadhana is just mentioned to indicate that any kind of activity that one does will fundamentally not solve the problem of ignorance. Because activity is not opposed to ignorance. So if ignorance is the problem, you need to remove it by something that is opposed to it. See, if at all there is some impurity somewhere, there is something wrong. So you do something that is an antidote for that problem. So that will help you get rid of the problem. But karma, the Shastra says, it keeps you in samsara. And it will keep you in samsara forever. So doing all noble deeds, good actions, so that itself will not help you get rid of of samsara, and that will only firmly hold you on to samsara. So because even if such difficult penance is performed, still if desires don't go away, then what to talk of simple, normal, everyday activity? Some people say, what is your policy in life? Some people say, be good, do good. That's enough, which is a good thing. So you can be good, you can do good, but you will firmly remain in samsara. So there is no hope of getting rid of samsara. So that is what um, Totakacharya conveys in this verse. Agre vanhihi prishthe bhanu ratrau chabuka samarpita janu karatala bhikshas tarutala vasaha tadapina munchati ashapasham. So however difficult the activity is, still fundamentally the ignorance won't go, and therefore the desires also won't go. That is because every activity is performed to fulfill some desire or the other. See, this is how the sequence works. So you have ignorance. Ignorance causes likes and dislikes. And likes and dislikes cause desire. They crystallize into desire. And to fulfill the desire, you do some activity. And then while you are doing activity, you accumulate more karma. The activity itself does not help you get rid of ignorance. So activity helps you accomplish something. And then once that is accomplished, then you move on to some other desire and then some other activity for accomplishing that desire. So this chain continues forever. It doesn't stop. Even if you grow old, it won't stop. So I may become so weak that I cannot do much activity anymore. But still the desire is there dormant inside my mind. So that can be eradicated only with knowledge, only with understanding. So karma is not an antidote for ignorance. So jnanam alone, knowledge alone is the antidote for ignorance. At the same time, we cannot stop karma completely, only perform karma judiciously. So, however great the karma is, however productive the karma is, still that will not help solve the problem of ignorance. That is what is conveyed in this verse. We'll move to the next one, verse number 17. This verse is attributed to Hastamalaka. Hastamalaka, the name is because his knowledge was as clear as a fruit would be if it were placed on the palm of your hand. So how clearly you will see a gooseberry. Amalaka means a gooseberry. How clearly you would see it if you place it on your palm. So, and he's supposed to have have had that much clarity with regard to self-knowledge. So he saw it that clearly. That's why he was called Hastamalaka. And again, so Shankaracharya met him when he was around 13 years or so old. Seems he had not talked much, and people were thinking he is a very dull boy. And then Shankaracharya, his father, the boy's father, brought him to Shankaracharya so that he could bless him. Then Shankaracharya just asked him one question: "Who are you?" He replied in a set of beautiful verses that people were completely stunned on hearing those verses coming from his mouth. So one of those verses is Ghanachanna Drishtihi Ghanachanna Markam Yatha Manyate Nishprabham Cha Atimudaha Tatha Baddhavat Bhati Yo Muda Drishtehe Sanityopalabdhi Swarupoham Atma. So the common line, last line of each verse is the same. Sa Nitya Upalabdhi Swarupaha Aham Atma. Atma Aham. So I am that Atma which is always available. So which is never lost. So Ghanachanna Drishtihi Ghanachanna Markam. So the vision of a person is clouded. And Ghanachannam Arkam. So when the clouds cover the sun, then if you imagine that the sun is not there, if you conclude that the sun is not there, then how foolish would it be? So just because my vision is clouded, I don't have clarity about myself, it would be silly to assume that the Atma, I am not the Atma. The Atma is not there. Because even to see the clouds, you need to have the presence of the sun behind the clouds. Only because the sun is there, the clouds are also seen. And in the same way, for you to be ignorant, also the Atma needs to be blessing you to be ignorant. So the person who says, I am ignorant, should be able to say, I am ignorant. So he will be able to say, I am ignorant only if he is alive. So if the consciousness was not blessing this person, then he would not even be able to say that I am ignorant. So that was one of the verses in that stotra, Astamalaka stotra. So he is supposed to have composed this verse. So we'll read this verse. So such a person with so much clarity, so obviously he is going to be saying something very important. So we will look into what it is. कुरुते गंगा सागर गमनम व्रत परिपालनमथवा दानम ज्ञान विहीन सर्वमतेन मुक्तिं न भजति जन्मशतेन कुरुते गंगा सागर गमनम व्रत परिपालनमथवा दानम ज्ञान विहीन सर्वमतेन मुक्तिं न भजति जन्मशतेन भज गोविंदम भज गोविंदम गोविंदम भज मूढ़मते. So he talks about other religious activities that one undertakes, like Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam. So one can go on a pilgrimage to the Ganga and take a dip in the Ganga. So Ganga is the most sacred river as far as any Indian is concerned. And they also say that scientifically, the Ganga water has certain properties that the water doesn't go bad for a very long time because of all the herbs and the medicinal quality that it picks up on the way. It comes all the way from Gangotri and beyond. So Gangotri is the farthest we can know. So from Gangotri, it comes down. It has various names in various places. In one place it is called Alakananda, another place it is called Bhagirathi. So it has so many names. And then finally it all joins and flows down as the Ganga. And when it comes down, it just washes away a lot of these medicinal herbs and trees. And but we don't look at the Ganga in a very scientific perspective. So for us, it is very, very sacred. And taking one dip in the Ganga is supposed to help one get rid of all punya papa. That is definitely an exaggeration, but still that is the sanctity we have for the river. So taking a dip in the Ganga is a lifetime ambition for many people. It was a lifetime ambition. Like for someone who, if someone who used to live in the south or western part of India, just reaching the Ganga is a huge effort. So just imagine 200 years back. It's not like you can just board a flight and get down at Jolly Grant Airport. So Jolly Grant Airport is the airport at Rishikesh. So and then go straight to the Ganga and take a dip. So it was not easy. So it was like a lifetime project. So he mentions Ganga Sagara Gamanam. So even if you undertake that activity, go through so much difficulty, Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam. Vrata Paripalanam Athava Danam. And then you fast on various days, special days, Vrata, or take very serious vows to avoid certain things. So any vow, any pledge you take is called a Vrata. Vrata has come to mean as fasting generally nowadays. But Vrata means any vow that is taken is a Vrata. So Vrata Paripalana. And you fulfill that vow. Like, for example, um, Draupadi. Draupadi was married to five people. So actually, she intended to get married only to Arjuna. Arjuna was the person who won her hand in the task that he was given. And then when he brought her back home, then he wanted to have fun with his mother. So he said, I have brought you some gift, but you have to find out what gift I have brought. Then the mother did not expect him to bring back a girl as a gift. So then the mother said, so whatever gift you have brought, you please share it among all your brothers. And then because she said it, then she became the wife of all the five people. So what Draupadi used to stay for 1 year with each person, it says. So she used to live with each person for a year. And after living with a person for a year, the next year she used to just spend in penance, I believe. And that penance was something called Chandrayana Vrata. So the Chandrayana Vrata, what one has to do is you start on an Amavasya day, on the day where there is no moon. And then you take one handful of food. So that much alone is your food for the day. Then the next day you take twice that amount. You measure also. First day, whatever you take. Second day, you have to take twice of that. Third day, you have to take thrice of that. And then keep increasing like that. Fourth day, four times like that. And on the 15th day, so you take 15 times of that food. You have a full meal probably. And that is what you do on the full moon day, Purnami. And after Purnami, you start reducing one portion every day. And up to the next no moon day, next Amavasya day. So this is the Vrata. She is supposed to have done for that year in between, every alternate year. She does that Vrata and then lives with the next person. So that is how she had five sons through these five Pandavas. And all of them died in the Kurukshetra. All of them died. None of them survived. So that was done for a certain reason. But here, Astamalaka says, even if you go through some very difficult, austere discipline like that, Vrata Paripalanam, Athava Danam, or give away all that you have. You don't hold on to anything. You don't keep any possession and just keep giving away. Like Karna. Karna was a king, but he was a great giver also. That is why Karna has, even though he was close to Duryodhana, so he has a very respectable place in the Mahabharata. And Danam, because he was a Dana Prabhu. So Vrata Paripalanam Athava Danam. Jnana Vihina Sarvamatena Bhajat Muktim na bhajati Janma Shatena. So he explicitly says that. Jnana Vihina, without knowledge, Sarva Matena. So according to everyone, Muktim na bhajati Janma Shatena. Even after hundreds of births, you will not get liberated. So it cannot be clearer than this. So without knowledge, there is no hope of mukti. So he says it bluntly and directly because it was so clear to him. That's why he was called Hastamalaka. So jnana vihina sarva matena muktim na bhajati janma shaten. So hundreds of janmas you can live, but without knowledge, there is absolutely no hope at all. So knowledge alone solves this fundamental problem of samsara. Because the problem is one of ignorance, which is residing inside me. No one else is responsible for this ignorance. No one creates me with it. No one forces ignorance into me. And somehow it has started. When it started, also, we don't try to answer that question. Somehow it started, and now I'm very clear that I'm ignorant. So, and for solving that problem of ignorance, jnanam alone, jnanat eva kaivalya. So, knowledge alone is the way for kaivalya, for moksha. So, it can be called kaivalya, moksha, all mean the same thing. So, there is one Upanishad called Kaivalya Upanishad. So, Kaivalya Upanishad means that studying which Upanishad you will get Kaivalya. So, Kevalasya Bhavaha is Kaivalya. So, Kevala means being that one non-dual reality, remaining as that one non-dual reality. So if you're a Tamilian, Kevala means something that is despicable. So something that is detestable. So that is the meaning of Kevala, but in Sanskrit that is not the meaning. So studying that Upanishad, you will not become a detestable character. So studying that Upanishad, you will get Kaivalya. So you will know that the truth is that Atma alone. There is nothing other than that Atma. So that is why it is called Kaivalya Pada. So Jnanat eva Kaivalyam, that the Upanishad says, and here he very clearly states that Jnana Vihinaha, and he also says this is declared by everyone. Sarva Matena. So all schools, they declare that Jnanam alone is the solution. And without knowledge, there is no moksha. So Kurute Ganga Sagara Gamanam. So here he talks about some more religious activities. So Ganga Sagara Gamanam, Vrata Paripalanam, Athava Danam. Vratam also it was done with a religious attitude, devoted, with an attitude of devotion. Athava Danam. Danam is also given with an attitude of devotion. So represents all other religious activity. So even the most noble activity will not help you get rid of ajnanam. But again, all of these help in preparing oneself. So Ganga Sagara Gamanam helps in preparing myself. So the idea is that they should not be done to the exclusion of the pursuit of knowledge. See, some people, they have this logic. Right now, I'm not eligible for jnana. And so I will do all these activities, make myself eligible, and then come to knowledge. That is the logic some people give. But it never works that way. You have to start at some point. So they go hand in hand, side by side. So you pursue knowledge, then you get more clarity. And for getting rid of one's own obstacles, inner obstacles, you do such activity also. So Ganga Sagara Gamanam. So go on a pilgrimage to Ganga. Or, Rishikesh or Varanasi, someplace. And then Vrata, you can also keep some Vrata. But the motive is knowledge. Motive is not some short-lived benefit. So short-term benefit. So Vratam is also done with a bigger purpose in mind. So Vrata Paripalanam Athava Dhanam. So it is like this, any ignorance. Like, for example, you want to know um, something about one topic of mathematics or physics. So why don't you do some yoga and then stand on your head, Shirasasana, and you can learn to do Shirasasana and be in Shirasasana for a very long time. And eventually you will not gain knowledge of whatever you want to know. So maybe Shirasasana will help more blood flow into your brain. So your brain will work better. And so you will be sharper. Your mind, your brain will be sharper. And when someone teaches you, you will pick it up faster. So Shirasasana is not completely useless. But just doing Shirasasana is not going to help you gain knowledge of anything. So, or you work on fitness, like for example, even chess players nowadays. So, chess players, they focus so much on fitness. So, previously we used to assume that for playing chess, you don't need fitness because it is just a mental activity. So, as long as you're very skilled in chess, then you can be a chess player. But then they found out that you need to also, fitness also plays a big role. But what will happen if someone is just focusing on fitness all the time? You're always running and you're always training for your physical fitness, and then not learning the different moves and different possibilities. So then you will get only fitness and you will not gain any knowledge of chess. And the same logic applies for Atma Jnanam also. The pity is that somehow we tend to think that Atma Jnanam is different. Maybe I can get it through yoga, or maybe I can get it through something else. So that is what I tend to assume. But the Shastra is very clear. So it is impossible to become wise unless you consciously work for it. That's why Lord Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, third chapter, he says, Lokesmin dvividha nishta pura prokta mayanagha. Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. So he talks about only two lifestyles. So there is no four-path theory. So do it either by karma yoga or bhakti yoga or jnana yoga or raja yoga. So that is that idea is very popular nowadays. So, but Lord Krishna does not subscribe to that idea at all. He says there are only two lifestyles: lifestyle of karma or a lifestyle of sannyas. And for both, jnanam is mandatory. Jnanam is absolutely necessary. Even for karma yoga, you need jnanam to do karma yoga. For sannyasa, you have devoted your life only for this jnana. So there is no question. So jnanam, knowledge is the common thread connecting both karma yoga and jnana yoga. So doing karma alone and then becoming eligible for this, preparing oneself for this, is not something that is recommended even by Lord Krishna. So it has to be done. Pursuit of knowledge has to go side by side. So uh, there is no escape from this. So that's what here also is said. So jnana vihina sarvamatena muktim na bhajati jnana shatena. Then we'll move to the next verse. So this verse is supposed to have been composed by one disciple called Subodha. Not very popularly known, but they must have been there. So he says, Suramandiratarumula शय्याभूतलमजिनं वासः सर्वपरिग्रहभोगत्यागः कस्य सुखं न करोति विरागः सुरमन्दिरतरुलनिवासः शय्याभूतलमजिनं वासः सर्वपरिग्रहभोगत्यागः kasya sukhan na karoti viraga. So here, what he tries to say is that this life of an austere life is not really as bad as you imagine it to be. And in fact, it is more enjoyable than mindlessly or recklessly chasing desires. Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha. So for whom does desire not give happiness? I mean, does vairagya not give happiness? So what he tries to convey here is that desires are actually a burden we are carrying on our head. So we think having desires is a good thing that keeps us motivated and that makes our life purposeful. But the Shastra looks at it in a completely different way. The Shastra says that desires are actually a load on your head, a burden on your head. So you lift it off your head, then you will be happier than you can ever imagine. And gives the example of a person who just revels but possesses nothing. Sura Mandira Taru Moola Nivasaha. So he says, Sura means living in temples or under a tree. Tarumula Nivasaha. Sura Mandira Tarumula Nivasaha. Sura means Devata, Mandira means temple of some Devata. Sura Mandira Tarumula Nivasaha. Shayya Bhutalam Ajinam Vasa. And then lying down on flat ground. Sarva Parigraha and flat ground and wearing deer skin. Ajinam Vasaha. So just wrapping around deer skin around his waist. Sarva Parigraha Bhoga Tyagaha Kasya Sukham Na Karoti Viraga. And this person has given up all desire for any kind of entertainment or possessions. Sarva Parigraha Bhoga Tyagaha Kasya Sukham Na Karoti Viraga. For whom does such a lifestyle not give happiness? So at first sight, it may look, how can one be happy living like this, living like a pauper? But here it is voluntarily taking to poverty, not by force. By, by having the clarity that possessions are only a burden. Desires are only a burden. And likes and dislikes are only a burden. They are not really helping me be happy. So I may be fooled into thinking that they are contributing, fulfilling them is contributing towards my happiness. But he says that no, Vairagya only gives you real joy. So when you give up, it really feels so good. Like, for example, even giving up a simple thing like sugar. In the beginning, it's difficult. So, but then you give up, and then later you realize what you have been missing for so long. So that is why people, when they go to Varanasi, generally in India, they give up something or the other. But generally, what people very mischievously do, they give up what they don't really like. So go and give up what you really hate. You have to give up something, right? So I give up what I don't like. So I don't like bitter gourd. So I go to Varanasi and then say, I will never eat bitter gourd anymore in my life. And if someone serves also, you have the license to say that I've given it up, I can't eat it anymore. So that is not the idea. So you give up what you really like. Because what you really like is only a burden. It is not contributing to your happiness in any way. So that is the idea conveyed in this verse. We will stop here and continue. Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.